Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Solutions, Not Just Problems. We are your hosts, Vanessa K. and Be Real. How you doing today, Be Real?
I'm doing great. Got big things happening. Got a new series coming up here on wealth building. We're going to teach y'all how to, make some money. And we know that's something that's really important in today's community. And also, we've got a major announcement that I know you're excited about. And I'll let you get started by making that announcement, and then we'll get right into the podcast.
Yes, big things are about to happen in Providence, y'all. Catch the SNJP podcast live on 93.7 FM, The Juice, with DJ Finesse on June 18th. We'll be talking at all things community, culture, and what's next for SNJP. So you won't want to miss it. Then come hang with us in person on the June at the Juneteenth Rhode Island Festival at Roger Williams Park Temple. This will be held on June 22nd. Join Be Real and yours truly, Vanessa K. We'll be there with open ears and open minds. Bring your thoughts, your ideas, your voice. We're ready to bring your conversation to the podcast.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Can't wait. Be in Providence on that week, all week. Get a chance to hang out with the Juice, my man DJ Finesse, and also get a chance to check out Juneteenth, which I've never been to. So I get an opportunity to go there for the first time. And that is taking place on Sunday, the 22nd. For those of you that may not know about the Juneteenth Festival, it's going to be taking place at Roger Williams Park in Providence, Rhode Island on June 22nd, and that is on a Sunday.
That's funny you say that because I've never been to the festival in Rhode Island either. So this is going to be something that it's going to be exciting and new. I'm looking
I hear
forward
it's,
to that.
I hear it's popping. I hear, big turnout. From what I'm hearing, a couple thousand people at least.
Yeah,
So we'll get an opportunity to shake hands and talk to a bunch of people and let them know about what's happening with SNJP, and hopefully we'll get some more folks to, follow the podcast and get some of this great information that we're providing to the community.
that's right. All right. Well, today's show, how many of you want the scoop on how to start a business in 30 days or less? Well,
Me.
first, well, first, we need to understand that this technique is a valid technique and it can apply to a lot of small businesses, online businesses, but it's not optimal for every type of business. So before you get started and we go through this, just know that this method applies to small businesses not requiring a lot of capital up front, businesses that do not require real estate. You don't need a brick and mortar building, or businesses with a complex business structure. But if you don't require any of those details, this episode is for you. The method takes 4 weeks, and it's broken down into four simple parts. So the first week, it's planning your business. This is a basic foundation. It's the start point. So you also want to know that there are several more steps that you'll need to take to sustain and to grow your business after it's launched. Week number one, we start with planning the business. And during that week, you'll choose a business idea. When choosing an idea, one of the things I like to look at is does it solve a problem or does it fill a market gap? I think we're done with inventing things, don't
Mm,
you, B? I mean, we're
yeah,
just, everything's out there, everything's
yeah,
saturated.
yeah. Creating the wheel and creating something that no one has done before is very difficult. I mean, unless you have an invention where you just, you're finding a new way for people to be able to fly, or a new way for people to be able to, have transportation, or you've got some new widget or something that nobody has ever seen. Just about everything is out there. But yeah, I think you make a good point with that.
So when choosing a business, we might want to change our approach instead of trying to start something brand new or reinvent something. Put ourselves in the mindset where we're solving a problem. We'll come up with ideas on how to fill a market gap. Uber is an example on a company that solved a problem, right? Before we were used to the taxis, and Uber came in and it eliminates wait times. It has a GPS tracking system that's, makes us feel safe. My kids used to use Uber, and I could track, where they were, their start point, right to the time they got home. Transparent pricing is shown with Uber. So Uber kind of solved a problem that we was having under our old processes, right? Airbnbs is an example of where they filled in a gap. People take vacations. Um, Airbnb gives travelers a more authentic experience. It gives homeowners another option to generate money. So when choosing a business, we might want to change our thinking instead of inventing something, change our way of thinking to solving a problem.
Mhm.
In other words, we want to be like Seth Godin, right? Be the purple cow, which implies, if you're building on something else, you're taking another idea, how to enhance it, how do you stand apart?
Mhm. Yeah, don't be afraid to steal someone else's idea too. I mean, you don't want to duplicate, but what you might want to do is emulate,
Mm-hmm.
where take pieces from what other people are doing and apply it to your business model. Okay. And you made a great observation, or you made a great point by saying that in business, your job is to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Often I see people go into a business and they're doing something that they're passionate about and something that they like, and maybe, some of their friends and family members might like it as well. But if you're trying to scale a business and you're trying to make it so that now you're reaching a much broader audience, because keep in mind, our job when we're starting a business is to make money. Okay. Your job is to solve a problem. So before you go into the business, say, hey, how many potential customers do I have? How many potential clients would I have if I'm trying to start this business? And you might find that what you're doing is not necessarily a business, but may indeed just be a hobby and something that you want to do, because you enjoy it.
Mm. Which leads into the next part of this is defining your audience. You want to take some time to think about what does your product or service, who does it, target? Who is it designed for? Um, Michael Jordan is an example. Michael Jordan sneakers, he clearly targeted an audience, right? His sneakers stood apart. And it was the price point that stood them apart. So he was going after a specific audience when he designed those shoes. And he only did a few of those a year. He wasn't doing mass production where they were in every department store. That's an example of how someone targets an audience.
Mhm. And let me tell you, Vanessa, what I found is a lot of people in our community price something that is not priced to sell. Okay.
Mm,
And for whatever reason, they have this profit margin that they want to make. And sometimes it's double, triple, what the product cost them. And
right,
where in most cases, you're probably looking at a 40 to 60%, profit margin or increase over the price that you paid for the item. Okay. Um, and I think that a lot of times that can kind of hold you back too, if it's not priced accordingly based on what the market is willing to pay and not what you perceive you need to make as a business owner.
right, right. Unless you bring a strong value proposition,
Hmm.
right? A value proposition is a clear statement that explains how a product or service solves a customer's problem, delivers a specific benefit, and why it's better than the alternatives. So it has to stand apart. If you're going to price it up, it has to stand apart from the competition,
And a lot of times what we don't realize is we're not just competing with mom and pop shops. Okay.
right?
We're competing with the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world, because if they're able to provide a product that at a cheaper price, okay, guess what most people are going to do? They're going to go with the cheaper price. So that's
Absolutely.
also something I think you need to take into consideration is, are you in a market where you're able to compete? So it's just something you want to think about when you're starting a business. Not just, do you and the people around you like it, but are people willing to pay money, okay, in order for them to obtain that product or service?
Right. So this first week is the week that you do a lot of research. Like you said, you got to look at the market, analyze 3 to 5 competitors, look at pricing, customer reviews, strengths and weaknesses, surveys. I don't think surveys should be optional. I think they should be mandated in this stage. You want to talk to people and get their feedback.
Hmm.
When conducting surveys and questionnaires, be sure to ask the right questions. Ensure they're open-ended and engaging. Don't be afraid to ask those deep questions because you want the customer to tell it all. You want to know how you can improve that product. Develop a tough skin, address objections as feedback, replace the defensive hat with the learning cap. Always allow, and that always allows for growth and sustainability.
Hmm. Let me just tell you, I want to piggyback on that because there's going to be some people out there and you're going to look at them as being a hater, but be willing to accept constructive criticism. You know, someone may say, hey, your website doesn't look that good, or perhaps, like I said, the price is too high, or, I like this service, but, I don't understand why, I'm not able to get this along with it because so and so, also includes this particular thing.
Mm,
So it's just be aware of the fact that people are going to, when you're asking for feedback, people are going to have some pushback and what I call constructive criticism.
right. They'll have pushback, but then when you don't ask for it, that's when they give it to you.
Oh, they're going to give it to you. They're going to give
They're
it to
gonna
you.
give it to you.
Everybody's going to have an opinion as to what you should be doing or should not be doing. You're going to be surprised, and just take it with a grain of salt. Some things may be useful and other things might be like, I'm deciding to go in this direction right here, and I think this is going to be the best for my business, especially based on what Vanessa just talked about doing your market research. And also, if you happen to need some assistance, feel free to give us a call, and we can help you out too, because we provide those services as far as uh, marketing and web design and things of that nature. So,
Yes, starting up, forming your company, development, all of that. So give us
yes,
a call. That's what
yes,
we do.
yes.
And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. Now we're on week 2, building the foundation. This is where all the fun it starts, the action starts. Up to this point, you've done nothing but research, 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 right? So now we are actually getting into forming your business. And the first thing you want to do is choose a business name and the domain. You want to check the main site I use is the Secretary of State because the Secretary of State has every business name out there.
Mhm.
But you can also use sites like Namecheap or GoDaddy. You want to make sure that the name is available before you start doing any business. So check for that name to make sure it's available. You can use GoDaddy to buy the domain name. Now you're locking it in. You also want to check for trademarks and availability. And that's the USPTO. In the United States, you can go to the USPTO office
And let me just say too, when we're talking about the Secretary of State, we're talking about in each state.
in each state. That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
Your Secretary
exactly.
of State.
Exactly, because you want to register your business, especially if you're trying to create an LLC, which also we can help you with if you happen to need assistance with that as well. We can help you to get your business set up. And we're going to provide some information later on if you wanted to contact us, ask some other questions, schedule an appointment. It'll be in the link in the body of the video. Okay, so you'll have an opportunity to get that information if you needed to contact us. When we're talking about domain name availability, one of the things you want to make sure that you do is you get a .com, okay, in most cases, okay? You don't want a .org, which is normally for nonprofits. You don't want a .net. You want something where you're able to find a .com for that particular business, okay? Even if you have to add something like webuildwebsites.com, okay? And perhaps maybe your name is not included, but whatever you choose, you want it to correspond to what it is that you do, or you want it to correspond with the name that you've chosen, okay? And sometimes you might see where let's say The business is called Stars Mechanics, okay? And it's spelled Stars, okay? You might want to change the name to Starz Mechanics,
Right.
okay?
Could be
And that's
creative.
why, exactly, because I've done that quite a few times. And in fact, I've been able to use uh, numbers 84, which is the year that I graduated. I use that number with a lot of websites. So I might put something like starsmechanics84.com. Okay. And I know for that particular example, may not be the best examples to use the number, but you'd be surprised as to how, if you happen to have a name that you really like, just add a number or you can add LLC. Okay. So if you had starsmechanicllc.com, that's another way you can kind of get around it as well. And once again, if you're having a difficult time choosing it, give us a call. We can help you out because having the right domain name is really important. Okay. A name matters. Okay. Your brand name matters when it comes to choosing a business. Okay.
You want it to be catchy too, where
Yes.
people catch on to it,
Yes.
and it becomes the household name.
Think about names like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, um, BMW, Mercedes. These are names when you hear it immediately, you're like, wow, you know, that's a nice name.
Hmm.
So try to pick something that and people that they'll gravitate towards. Okay, because you'd be surprised sometimes, and I hate to say this, sometimes the product or the service may not even be that great, but the name is so good that people will gravitate towards it.
Right.
You know? So it's
I can say that in the coffee arena.
yeah,
It's the
yeah, I mean,
name. It's all in the
yeah,
name.
exactly.
Registering your business. And I should have said this earlier. There is a step that I always advise. I am on the business development side, and I always advise this. This is the step where you should at least seek counsel from an attorney
Mhm.
when you're before you go and register with the Secretary of State. You don't have to hire the attorney, but at least pay for that one-time consultation and let that attorney know what you're doing, what you're intending to do, and let him advise you how to properly structure your business.
Mhm.
I hear this all the time from my attorney. People go out and structure these businesses, form LLCs or sole proprietorships, and they do it all wrong. And it ends up costing more money to undo it and start all over. So like I said, if you don't do anything else, just pay for that one consultation with your attorney and let him advise you on how to set up that business.
And let me just tell you, there's two real good reasons why you want to do that. One is to make sure you have the proper legal structure so that now your personal assets, okay, cannot be attached or they're not attached to you if for some reason you had some kind of a legal dispute or you were being sued. Okay.
Right.
Number two is from a tax perspective, because now it's real popular for everybody. LLC, LLC. Well, there's other things such as a C corp, S corp. There's other different ways that you can go about setting up a business that may be better for your business depending on the type of business that you have. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. That's why what Vanessa said, hiring an attorney is very important, at least to figure out, okay, this is the type of business I'm starting. What's going to be best for me from a legal perspective, so that now I'm not looking at future lawsuits. And if I were to be sued, it's not being attached to my personal assets. And number two, to make sure from a tax perspective that you're paying the least amount in taxes based on the structure of that business.
In addition to registering your legal structure, you want to make sure that if applicable, you're registered with your state and local governments. And if you require licensure, like I'm a real estate agent, I require a license. My company requires a license. So make sure all your licenses are in place, and obtain your EIN number. The EIN number comes from the IRS, and that's like your company equivalent to your social security number. It's the social security number for the company. It's the company's social security number.
Okay. And I want to mention two more things too. One is if you're trying to obtain financing, like a loan from a bank, okay, they require the things that we're talking about, EIN numbers, having the right structure. But also remember when we went through the pandemic,
Hmm.
okay? and everyone was trying to get the pandemic loan, okay, for their business. Well, if you didn't have the right structure and you weren't set up properly, you didn't qualify.
That's right.
Okay, so that's another reason you had to have a bank account, a business bank account, and all that type of stuff in order for you to qualify. And if you did, it went by pretty smoothly. But if you didn't, you had some rough patches along the way.
Yeah, because these are the characteristics that make up a business. This is what a business is. And speaking of bank accounts, you're leading right into the next one because um, this one's a big one. When you open up the business, you want to make sure you open up a business bank account. You want to do this before collecting one dime. When you start putting it in your personal account, the money that you make on the business, you start putting it in your personal account, you start paying bills out of that account and using it for your household. That is called commingling.
Mhm.
Commingling is a crime. You must have a separate bank account for your business. Accounting is another thing to take under account. You're starting to collect money, you want to set up a basic accounting system. Now, starting off, most of us can't go out and hire a full-blown CPA, right? But there are programs that will help you through Waves, QuickBooks, or even a spreadsheet will help, maintain your accounting system. But set up some type of accounting system so you're keeping track of your what's coming in and what's going out. And then choose a payment processor. Stripe, Square, PayPal, any of those will do if you're collecting money. You want to make sure that you're collecting it in the right way and you're using the right tools. With that said, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We are now on week three of building your forming a business in 30 days. Week three, we start to develop products and services. Well, B, I'm going to let you take over this one because you're into marketing and we're getting into marketing the products now. And so I'm going to let you go ahead and lead this one, this segue.
Okay. Well, I would just say for a physical product, you want to make sure that you're ordering samples or start a small batch production. In other words, you want to test out what it is that you're trying to sell. Okay, get some samples, um, send it out there, test it out, make sure the quality is good, make sure that, and let me give you an example. Um, I I started a business a while back where I was selling T-shirts, and I was doing the printing and so forth. So I would go out and visit different locations, okay, and different printers and see the quality of the shirt. And I would check out to, how the printing came out. And I would check to see if it was a 50-50 blend in terms of polyester and cotton, to see if it was going to have like that cardboardy type of feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you wash it, to see if the collar was okay, it wasn't stretched out, or too big. To see, actually tried on the shirts, had different people come in and got different sizes, different samples, and was able to have someone try on a large, medium, extra large, and so forth, and also male and female. Okay.
Mm,
Before I started going out and purchasing a whole bunch of shirts, I wanted to make sure that the quality that I was looking at was going to be top quality. Okay. And also, I made sure that rather than going ahead and getting this done, excuse me, I purchased the shirts from that particular location. I went out and purchased the shirts in bulk, okay,
mm.
myself, and had them printed and was able to reduce costs that way.
That was
So,
after you had it tested by your audience, right? And
yes, yes, because now I knew that the type of shirt that I wanted, okay, was something that was of good quality. I did my due diligence and uh, did the poll testing and all that stuff, and had people check out the samples just to make sure that what I was selling was going to be top quality.
mm,
And then I priced it accordingly based on the amount that I put into the shirt. Came up with a profit margin as to how much I wanted to make, and that's how I was able to price it. You know, and I'll tell you, I did it for a short period of time, and this is in Providence. during Emancipation Day,
Mm,
and we ended up selling, I don't know, 400 shirts that day.
mm,
And I think we ordered 500, sold out in 2 days.
mm,
Okay. And the reason being is because what we had was representing each of the high schools back in Providence. It was Mount Pleasant, Central, Hope, and I think we might have had a couple of classical, but I'm not sure. And we had this little slogan on each of the shirts, and they sold out pretty quickly. And it was a good experience. But one of the things I realized is that when you're purchasing something like a t-shirt, because I know a lot of us do want to get into that type of business, one of the things you want to find out is what multiples you want to purchase. Because I learned that if you're purchasing t-shirts, you want to do it by the dozen.
mm,
Okay. So when you're going ahead and you're purchasing things of that nature, it could be paper products, whatever the case might be, find out what it costs if you buy it in bulk,
mm.
and how much you have to order for each one, because this will actually save you money. And let me give you a quick example about the t-shirt business. I found that, let's say I ordered 8 t-shirts, right? And I said, oh, I just need 8 of them. It was actually cheaper for me to order 12 than it was for me to order 8.
Right,
So it may have cost me $6 per shirt to do it if I ordered 8, and that was $48. And it might have cost me $3 per shirt if I did it based on the dozen,
right.
okay, which cost me 36. So things like that you have to also keep into uh, consideration as well.
Yeah,
And
because that
depending
all
on,
goes into the cost to make,
yes,
make the
yes,
product. You have to know
yes.
that, when you have to know your bottom line and your margin.
Yes. And that's why communicating with the vendor and also going ahead and not just deal with that one person, but also make sure that you have more than one vendor. Okay. So you can do your comparison shopping. And just in case that particular vendor is not available, sometimes they get to the point where they're tied up and they're not able to do the work, and you need something pretty quickly. So it's also important that you not only have samples, that you get to the point where you're able to have a variety of different vendors as well. So just want to keep that in mind when it comes to physical production of a product.
Yeah, in real estate, we have a lot of suppliers, right? We have to know everybody.
Mhm.
The lenders, the inspectors, and our rule is always three, a rule of three. So if
Mhm.
you're for every vendor, you want three of them,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
cover yourself.
Yeah.
So at this point, you've marketed, you've done all your research,
Mhm.
you've tested this product out. Now, what is the next big thing that every small business owner has to do? I mean, we got it together, we got it packaged, we're ready to go, but we would have to tell everybody, right?
Yes.
Tell at some point we got to get it out the door, let the word out.
Mhm.
So can you speak on website and online stores?
Ooh. So we're talking about from a marketing perspective,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of uh, the whole online marketing, website, social media, all that kind of comes into play and kind of works together. So when we're talking about a website or online store, there's a few different ways you can go about doing it. Okay. And one is you can choose a platform such as Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. Okay. Depending on the type of product that you're selling, and also depending on how much flexibility you need with the site. In other words, a lot of people tend to like Wix sites because it's easy for them to maintain. Okay. Doesn't take a lot of time for you to put it together, but a Wix site doesn't have that much flexibility,
Mm,
meaning that what you see is what you get. It may be a couple of add-ons, but if you want to change the look, there's not a whole lot of flexibility. Okay. Shopify is something that people like if they're selling a physical product. Okay. Once again, very easy to maintain, not too difficult to set up. Okay. But if you want it to have that pop and that look, you're probably going to have to hire a designer. My favorite um, platform is WordPress. Now, WordPress is not an easy platform for you to use. I can tell you right now, I've been using it for over 10 years. And it is not something where, like a Shopify or Wix, where you're just able to go in, add a couple of pictures, put a couple of links up. It's a lot more to it than that. Okay. So my suggestion, if you want something that's a little bit more elaborate, you want something that's a little bit more sophisticated, has a little bit more versatility, I would go with WordPress. If you need something really simple, then you may look at Shopify or perhaps Wix or some of the other platforms that are out there. And they're called CMSs, Customer Management Systems.
I'd like to add too that right out the gate, you should be taking a percentage and putting it aside because at some point in the history of your company, you are going to grow and you are going to need marketing. Um, and remember, marketing is a skill. It's a 4-year degree. Most of us don't have that. So I have to pay somebody to do my marketing. There's a way to do it. There's, to be effective and to be out there. And there's so much that's entailed. So if you're a business owner and you're focused on your niche, marketing can very well take up 40 hours, so at some point, keep it in the back of your mind as a business owner just starting out. At some point, I probably will have to do marketing because invest in marketing because that's what our competitors are doing. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, I did some research on that, and 96% of small businesses incorporate social media or some form of marketing. 90% of small businesses report that social media has increased their business exposure. 80% utilize social media to drive growth, and 70% believe their social media efforts are effective. So there's heavy competition out there using, marketing techniques and websites and social media. So if you want to stay competitive, it is something that you'll have to look at.
And let me just add to that, because one of the things I noticed in our community is a lot of people try to use social media sites like platforms, I'm sorry, like Facebook and Instagram to promote their business. And that's fine, okay? If you're using that in conjunction with a traditional website. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, as a person who uh, does business with other business owners and someone who I obviously I'm a consumer as well. I don't do business with people that don't have websites. Number
Mm-hmm.
one. So it makes you look like you're not professional and you're not serious and you're not willing to invest in what it is that you're doing. Okay. Um, Number two, I see a lot of people who are unwilling to invest into marketing. In other words, I'll come to them and I'll say, "What kind of a budget do you have for marketing?" And we're not saying that you need to spend thousands of dollars on marketing, but even if you set aside a couple of hundred or 10% of your gross income or net or whatever the figure might be, you need to come up with something where you're able to actually go out and market your business. It
Mm-hmm.
could be as simple as buying some flyers. It could be buying some radio time, getting to the point where you're doing social media ads, getting to the point where you're having a street team go out there and hand out various information pertaining to your business. But if you want to get the word out, folks, I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna happen if you're just dealing with family and friends. And the
Yeah.
only way to get to the word out is to actually invest into marketing. And I know a lot of times we don't want to spend the money, we want to find ways to cut corners, but there's no way around it. There really isn't. And let me just tell you this. I don't have the exact numbers and I wish I would have brought them with me. But I think for every dollar you spend on marketing, you get $3 in return.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to spend $1,000, let's say on paid ads on Facebook, on Instagram over a period of time, you're probably going to get a 3-for-1 return for your investment. So if you put out 1,000, you'll make 3,000.
Yep.
And this is how people end up making money, because what they do is they take the money that they're earning, and now that 1,000 becomes 3,000 in marketing. Then it becomes 5,000, then 10,000. There are people out there that are spending 100,000 or more in marketing every month to promote their business. That's why you see those people have an advantage. Okay. Because if you're trying to do it organically, which is simply you're not paying for it, and now that becomes more time consuming. So if you have the ability, once you start making some money, because I know when we first started business, it's not always easy to put money into marketing, but once you start making money, I would suggest that you start investing into marketing as well.
right, for your sustainability. And these stats that I just read are as of 2025. These are new stats. So it's the way our world is going. Competition is, we are just using marketing now. So there's no getting around it. With that said, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. And we are talking about how to start a business in 30 days or less. And we're closing out on week 4, marketing and launching. So, B, how would you go about launching a business?
First thing I'm going to do is, before I even launch the business, to be honest with you, because we've created the product like we talked about earlier or the service, I'm probably going to test it out to about 10 to 12 people that I feel confident. You
So, like
know,
a pre-launch?
yes, yeah, yeah. In fact, it's funny you mention that because I'm doing a pre-launch this weekend for my new website, Brand Strategy Marketing, which will be coming out next Tuesday, which we're converting Brian Scott Digital over to brand strategy marketing, and I'm in the process of doing that right now. So what I'll be doing is I'll send it out to about 10 different people, have them take a look at it, give me some feedback, and then go through the entire website to make sure everything is spelled correctly and all the buttons and everything is working. But in addition to that, if you are let's say selling a product, okay, you want to test it out to make sure that the shipping is done properly. So you probably want to order something, from your website. Let's say you have an online business. You probably want to order something in advance. So order a T-shirt or a cap, and make sure that the shipping comes within the specific time period. Make sure that your checking account and all that information is done properly. So if you're using a site like a Shopify or perhaps like a Wix, you want to make sure all that is working properly. And once you've done that, you've gotten your feedback, maybe you did a little questionnaire to see what people are interested in. And you may also want to give some kind of an offer, like maybe like 20 to perhaps 30% off. Sometimes people try to do like 5, 10%, which is really not a whole lot. But let me just tell you, if your product is something that people are really interested in, you know, they'll be willing to spend the money, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And let's say you're opening up a restaurant, which is kind of like getting away from the website business. I would provide samples and I would let people test the food. And you can get like those little cups. You know how you go to little Asian restaurants and like
Mm-hmm.
chicken, fried chicken, and I'm like, I'm good. And I done tried about 1,000 pieces of chicken, but
Look, Sam's Club.
yeah. Oh, listen.
Go shopping at Sam's during lunch. You'll get a
Hey,
whole lunch.
I'm there at 11:45. As soon and before you know it, I'm like, look, I don't even need any more food. I'm good. But
That's
yeah,
right. And those are
but
some good samples too, might I
yeah,
add.
yeah, because and I thought about opening up a restaurant, right? And back home we've got linguiça. Okay, I was going to do a breakfast spot. I'm not going to give up my idea because too
I'm
many
so
like,
looking forward
huh?
to Rhode Island.
Oh, oh
The
yeah,
linguiça.
food there is off the chain. I can't wait to go back too. You know, but yeah, I was thinking about doing like a breakfast spot. Okay,
Hmm.
breakfast and lunch. And I'm saying to myself, okay, in order for customers to understand just how good the food is, I think you need to provide samples. And I don't see people do this. They'll start a business, they'll put it at a price point that, in my opinion, the prices are too high. Unless you already have a reputation and you have like a franchise and you have something that people are already familiar with your product. If you're doing something like that, have an offer, have some type of a discount online or even in person, have a combo or a bundle package, and also have a go-to product. Okay, have something specific that just about everybody's going to be interested in, and that might be the bulk of what people purchase. Okay, in other words, if you got a breakfast spot, I'm just going to give this to you. Let's say you had breakfast sandwiches, okay, and you had 4 different types. Here would be an opportunity for you to sell that breakfast sandwich at a price point that people would be willing to spend. And what we're talking about, somewhere probably between $4 and $6. You
Hmm.
probably do pretty well you know. So, in my opinion, in launching a business, as I said, two things you want to do is have an offer and also allow people to test the product out if it's something that you're able to do, before they actually use it. And return policy. Okay. That's
Mhm.
something. If you have an online business, okay, make it so that people can return the product if they're not happy with it. Now, one of the things you can do is you can say, okay, you can return the product, but you're going to have to pay for shipping, okay, and you'll get a credit, okay, meaning they can use it to purchase something in the future, but you don't necessarily give a refund. So that's one of the little tricks that you can do when it comes to online businesses.
Yeah, good way to retain clients.
Yes, yes, because most people want to know that if I don't like something or if it doesn't fit me the way that I like it to, or it's not something that you know, something that I particularly want for whatever reason, they should be able to return that product as long as it's not damaged.
And we shouldn't be shy about using our friends and family to help us through the pre-launch
Mhm.
and testing.
Oh,
We've done it, right? We utilize our friends and family all the time,
yeah,
especially we did it once with the SNJP name, the domain name,
yeah.
topics. I mean, they actually, I don't know about your family, but my family is very, very truthful.
Oh, yeah.
They will tell you, brutally truthful.
Yeah, my brother, my friends, they're gonna tell it like it is. And
Hmm.
I don't want you to just say, "Oh, it's great." Like I hear a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, I hear a lot of people, the feedback that I've gotten with SNJP, they're like, you guys are doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? But I've also heard some things, certain constructive criticism were like, well, maybe if you did this or you did that, and I've taken it into consideration. But sometimes what people don't realize is perhaps you're trying to go in a certain direction with your business, and you have a certain demographic, okay, that you're trying to go after. And that's something we're going to talk about as this series goes on too, is you don't want to sell to everybody, okay?
Right.
Make sure you have a focused group of people or a specific target market that you're marketing to, okay? And we're going to talk about that as we go along as well.
The smallest viable audience.
Seth Godin, that's the man right there. That is the man.
And remember to collect testimonials. We're
Mm,
focused on feedback, but collect your reviews, collect testimonials. And put them out there on your website.
mm,
Because I noticed that clients and customers, they look for a couple of things. They're looking for that website to make sure you're professional and you're real, right? But then
mhm,
they're all the next thing after that is they're looking for the testimonials. They're looking for your reviews. How are you rated compared to your competitors? So collect the testimonials. I'm so big on testimonials, I write them into my procedures. There's certain times during the process that it's time to collect a testimonial.
mhm. And don't be afraid to ask people, that you've done business with, for a testimonial or to give a review, on your business or product. And ask them to be as honest as possible and to be as thorough as possible with that review. Because the more information people have about the work that you do, because the better chance you have of getting obtaining new customers. Okay, because we buy products from people that we like, know, and trust.
That's right.
Okay, and so you want to build up that reputation as being someone who's credible and someone that other people can vouch for.
That's right. As a bonus, before we wind down, let's give you some tools to help you move along this process. Some recommended tools are Canva, that's used for graphics and branding, Trello or Notion for planning, Stripe, PayPal, and some of the others we referenced earlier for payments. Calendly is a good booking service, and Google Workspace for your emails, docs, storage. Google works well.
I want to just piggyback on something. A lot of people are using these programs like Canva and WordPress and Stripe and all these different things. But there's a learning curve.
Absolutely.
And just because those tools are available doesn't mean you're going to get the results that you're looking for. And I can tell you one of the things you do not want to do, folks, is you don't want to put out a website that's not professional. You don't want to have graphics or videos that don't look professional. It doesn't mean that it has to be perfect, okay? But it needs to look like you paid for it. Let's put it that
Mm-hmm.
way. If you don't have the skill set to be able to do it yourself, hire someone. You
Call
know,
us.
well, I don't want to keep, I wasn't going to go there, but yes, because and don't forget to visit my website too, which is brand strategy marketing, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. The difference between what a novice or a person who doesn't have experience doing it and someone who's been doing this for over 10 years. It's a huge difference. And it makes all the difference in the world. Just think about it. When you go to Macy's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to Nordstrom's or whatever the case might be, if they had a crappy sign up, and it didn't look professional, and they didn't have these sophisticated models, because it makes a difference when you see
Mm-hmm.
someone and you've got this gorgeous model, who's promoting Chanel perfume or whatever the case might be. You kind of envision yourself saying, "Hey, I'm going to be sophisticated. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be the person that people are like, oh, he's wearing Chanel."
Right.
She's wearing Chanel. I'm sorry. Um, so things just like we were talking about the brand name matters,
Mm-hmm.
graphics, marketing, web design, all that, okay, pertains to your brand and enhances your brand. So you do not want to put out crappy marketing materials or have a website that doesn't look professional.
And you know what I think of? The B-rated movie. You
Mhm.
ever watch TV and you flip on a movie and it's B-rated and you can just tell the technology's
Yeah,
off, the
yeah,
pitches off, the editing, like
yeah.
everything. And it kind of takes away from the movie and you don't really notice it until you see it, right? So
Mhm.
that's what it looks like on social media. You don't
Mhm.
really notice it until it's there in front of you and it pops right out at you like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that was really B-rated.
Mhm.
Well, that concludes our show today. I think we shared a lot today. You have anything else you want to say, Be Real?
Nah, I just know that the next this series here on wealth building is going to include a variety of topics, which includes personal finances, includes credit management, it includes more on starting your own business, investments. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully, we're going to have some guest speakers come on and talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about taxation and ways that you can reduce your tax burden. And once again, we may have a professional come on and talk about that as well. Stay tuned, next several weeks because we know how important of a topic this is. We're all looking to find ways to put money in our pocket, you know, and even if we're not able to put money in our pocket, at least be able to utilize the money that we have coming in, to our advantage. So stay tuned over the next several weeks, and I think you guys will get a lot out of these next few podcasts.
I just want to end by saying, subscribers, thank you for sticking with us and staying tuned in. We truly appreciate your support. And to all our amazing listeners, we need your help. Our goal is to take this podcast to the next level by getting featured on iHeartRadio and other major platforms in 2026. To make that happen, we need to hit 5,000 subscribers by December of 2025, and that's where you come in. If you enjoyed the show and want to see us grow, help us reach that milestone by subscribing, sharing, and spreading the word. Got thoughts or feedback? Drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. This is Vanessa K and Be Real signing off. Until next time, keep growing, stay motivated, and thanks for tuning in.